All right, what do we have here? We have a greatly oversized pollen grain sitting on top of a stigma. And so it's got, among other things, inside what? It's what's the red cell? The large cell that kind of fills up the whole pollen grain. It's called the what? The vegetative cell. What are these two little guys? Sperm cells, that's right. And where are the sperm cells in relation to the vegetative cell? They are where? Totally inside it. Totally inside. You got two little cells inside a big cell. Two little cells totally inside a big cell. Well, these sperm cells need to get down to mesovule down here. One of the ovules down there. And so how do they get down there? Well, we've seen by the growth of a pollen tube. And before the pollen tube has grown too far, there are how many objects inside it? Three? Yeah, three objects. What are they? Well, gee, we don't have too many options. There's only three kind of large objects in the pollen grain. What are they? They are V sub n. What does that mean? Vegetative cell nucleus. Vegetative cell nucleus and the two sperm cells. So that's it. That's it. Now, which one is? What's the order? Well, the leader of the pack, the first one out of the pollen grain, is V sub n. V sub n, the vegetative cell nucleus, now known as the tube nucleus. Now known as the tube nucleus, or often known at least as the tube nucleus. But the vegetative cell nucleus, the nucleus of the vegetative cell, is the leader of the pack. What is believed to be the role of the vegetative cell nucleus, the tube nucleus? Well, as the leader of the pack, it's the leader of the pack. It is believed to be directing the growth of the pollen tube. The tube nucleus is believed to be directing the growth of the pollen tube on down towards one of those ovules down below. Absolutely. By the way, where'd the pollen tube come from anyway? Well, I've got that written up there already. The pollen tube is an extension of the vegetative cell. The vegetative cell grows out of the pollen grain. You say, what about that hard outer coat? Well, every pollen grain has one or more openings. Some have one, some have three. It kind of varies. One or more openings through which the pollen tube can grow. And so the pollen tube grows out. It's as an extension of the vegetative cell. It grows out and down. Obviously, right following not too far behind the tube nucleus are what? The two sperm cells. And so we will put one here, one sperm cell here, and one sperm cell right behind it. These are the sperm cells. These are the sperm cells. All right. So the tube nucleus leading the way. It's the first one into the pollen tube, followed by the two sperm cells right behind. So we know what a pollen tube is, right? It's an extension of the vegetative cell. And you might have to draw and label a pollen grain and with its pollen tube, and that would be this drawing right here. Pollen grain with its pollen tube. You'd have to do that. And what becomes the tube nucleus? Where did that come from? It came from V sub n. What is V sub n? It is the vegetative cell nucleus, the vegetative cell nucleus. Yes, and what's believed to be the role again of the tube nucleus? It is directing the growth of the pollen tube. Now let me ask you this. We just talked about the location of these two sperm cells. They are where at this point? They are totally inside the vegetative cell. But once the sperm cells have left the pollen grain proper, so to speak, and entered the pollen tube, are they still in the vegetative cell, or have they left the vegetative cell? Are they still in the vegetative cell or not? I always ask this to a class, call in some lucky winner to give me the answer, and the answer is either yes or no. They either are or they are not. And what do you think? Are the sperm cells still inside the vegetative cell? They're inside it up here. Are they inside it down here? Excuse me. And I've kind of color-coded to kind of, help with the answer. But the answer is what? Yes, they are. Yes, what is a pollen tube? It's an extension of the vegetative cell. So the vegetative cell is not just what's in here, it also includes the pollen tube. So the sperm cells were in the vegetative cell here, and they're inside the extension of the vegetative cell here. They are still inside the vegetative cell. Yes, they are. Last question here. How many pollen tubes are required for the fertilization of each ovule? How many pollen tubes need to be heading down the pike? Well, it's very simple. One pollen tube per ovule. One pollen tube per ovule. So, if there are 200 ovules down in the basement, there better be about how many pollen tubes as a minimum heading down the pike? About 200 pollen tubes for 200 ovules. Yes, indeed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our discussion of pollination, pollen tube development. Now we need to get Miss Ovule ready. All right, bye-bye.